magiliw, pelas ng silanganan, alam ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinihang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig, di ka pasisihin. Sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong bughaw, may ilagang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang islap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagniningning, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magdidilim. Lupa ng araw na luwan at ipagsinta, buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya na pang may mga api, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Please be seated.
A very good morning to one and all. Good morning, everyone. Okay, tuloy na tuloy pa rin ang ating show. Kahit kanina may mga nakikita tayong Spider-Man dyan sa taas ng ating mga pillars, tuloy na tuloy pa rin po. And of course, welcome to the Greeneration Summit for Luzon. I am Ate Pebbles Sanchez, member of the Greeneration team of the Climate Change Commission. And what you've just seen earlier is the homegrown talent of Cagayan de Oro City. Na-discover po sila ng Climate Change Commission during our Greeneration Summit for Mindanao. And of course, with me today is the Vice Chairperson of the University of the Philippines Diliman Student Council and also host of several PTV4 programs, Jules Guia.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Alright, so I'm very excited, Ate Pebbles. So, syempre, nandito tayo lahat ngayon sa SMX Convention Center to gather and to listen to all the talks for the whole day, of course, with regard to the climate change. Alright, so, again, for this moment, of course, Ate Pebbles, diba, recently lang, merong naganap na calamity sa Kabisayaan. Kaya, at this moment, we will be offering 1 minute of silence for all our brothers and sisters affected by the Typhoon Yolanda. Alright. Okay, so again, no, isa to sa mga reasons kung bakit napakahalaga talaga na i-convene natin again itong Greeneration dahil recently nga lang naganap itong calamity na to. Siguro, Ate Pebbles, so ano ba yung matututunan natin na meron bang connection yung ginagawa ng tao pagdating sa mga malalaking calamity?
You know, marami tayong matututunan ngayon because what we experienced recently is actually a wake-up call.
Yes,
diba,
definitely.
Jules?
Kaya tayong makabataan na nandito ay dapat manguna at kumilos para masolusyonan ang climate change at iba pang environmental problems. Sabi nga, we should plan and we should act.
But before we plan and before we act, we need to have a basis, a foundation of our plans and actions. And this summit is one of the great opportunities for us to gain that knowledge, for us to plan better, and for us to understand climate change and appreciate our roles as key agents of change.
And Ate Belbos, I was informed that this Greeneration movement have already conducted in several places. Am I right?
Yes. As I've mentioned earlier, we had the Greeneration Summit for Mindanao in Cagayan de Oro City. Dito tayo medyo mainit. In Cagayan de Oro City last August, we held the event at Capital University, and we also had the Greeneration Summit for Visayas and Cebu, and the Greeneration Summit was actually launched in 2012 at Manila Hotel.
Alright, so nagsimula siya sa Manila in 2012, then punta sa Visayas, and then sa Mindanao, tapos ngayon bumabalik ulit sa Luzon. So ngayon, susubukan natin kung gaano ba ka-energetic ang mga delegates natin from Luzon. Are you all here, delegates from Luzon in Greeneration 2013?
Naku, alam mo, nung nandun ako sa Mindanao, talagang reverberating yung boses nila eh. Siguro i-challenge mo pa sila, Jules.
Again, nandito ba ang mga delegates ng Greeneration 2013?
Okay.
Alright. Pwede na, pwede na.
Talaga. And we are also encouraging you to be
Yes.
active online.
Alright, so lahat ng may dalang cellphones at may Twitter accounts at Facebook accounts, of course, definitely, sino ang walang Facebook account dito? Yung wala. Sino ang walang Twitter account? Alright. So kayong lahat na may Facebook accounts, i-like nyo na ang Facebook page ng Climate Change Commission at i-follow din syempre ang Twitter account ng Climate Change Commission at gamitin niyo ang hashtag na ActNowPH in all of your tweets. Alright? Para mag-trend tayo buong araw.
And of course, don't forget to like the Facebook page of the Greeneration Philippines and also follow its Twitter account. And please inform your friends that we have Rappler here with us, helping us with live streaming.
Kaya ba sobrang daming cameras ngayon dito?
Yes, so instant celebrity. Now, Jules, let us not keep them waiting.
All right. Okay. So at this point, we'll be welcoming one of our, of course, a message from the head of our country, of course, a message to be read by the Secretary of the Climate Change Commission. So she will be reading the message of His Excellency Benigno S. Aquino III, of course, our President of the Republic of the Philippines. So ladies and gentlemen, let us all welcome
Secretary Lucille Sering.
Message of His Excellency Benigno S. Aquino III, President of the Philippines. I am honored to speak on behalf of the President today. Allow me to share with you his message for this occasion. We gather at a time of great difficulty and heartbreak. All of us present are well aware of the devastation brought about by Yolanda. We know of the stories of the many who perished and of the many more displaced. Aerial photos of towns that were in the storm's path show the extent of the damage. The very social infrastructure and support systems in many affected areas need to be rebuilt as we work to sustain relief efforts and reach far-flung isolated communities. I believe this tragedy tells us that just as we must be prepared to confront and respond to natural disasters, just as we find ways to improve our systems and mechanisms of governance, if we are to truly ensure the safety and welfare of our countrymen as one nation, we must also commit our efforts to addressing the adverse impacts or effects of climate change. We cannot be trapped in a vicious cycle of preparation, devastation, and reconstruction. As I've said in the past, climate change is an unquestionable reality. I believe that it is incumbent upon us to engage everyone, especially those with the capacity to enact meaningful change at the global level, in ensuring that natural disasters of this scale are mitigated and effectively addressed. It is equally important to us, or for us, to impress the need for responsible stewardship of the environment to coming generations. This is the very principle behind our gathering today. By discussing environmental issues which have very real social consequences, with students like you, by raising the level of awareness about climate change, we enable you to be partners in safeguarding your future. Just as our administration is committed to making more Filipino students aware through school-based initiatives such as the Youth for Environment in Schools, or YES program, we are also implementing strategic activities at the national level, activities that we know will redound to the benefit of both present and future generations. In particular, in 2011, we launched the National Greening Program, the objective of which is to plant 1.5 billion trees by 2016. I am told, to date, we have planted over 330 million seedlings across the country. Also in 2011, we issued Executive Order Number 23, which creates an anti-illegal logging task force to make sure that our forests are conserved and protected, and to guarantee that the harnessing of resources is done in a responsible and acceptable manner. Add to this, determined to make sure we effectively adopt and mitigate the effects of climate change in the medium and longer term, we approved the National Climate Change Action Plan for 2011 to 2018. The objectives of these initiatives, however, can only be truly realized if students such as yourselves take part in conserving our natural resources. Through your own little way, whether it be by recycling to minimize waste, setting up cleanup drives in your respective communities and schools, or by joining conferences such as this to develop the ideas and strategies that will encourage more to participate, you help bring about meaningful change. Change that will benefit generations to come. It is my hope that as our administration continues to find ways to improve our capacities to adapt and respond to challenges, as we work to promote sustainable and inclusive practices, you will choose to further contribute in strengthening the culture of cooperation and resilience by being even more conscientious members of a national and global community. The success of this endeavor can only come about in a context where everyone, governments, corporations, and individuals, equally commits to realizing a shared goal, to balance development and the need to conserve resources, to pursue a collective strategy that finds root in our individual capacity to contribute, while engaging others in a positive manner, to sustain and spur economic growth, while laying the groundwork for a more sustainable, more equitable future. I believe that with your help, we can do so much for our environment, our nation, and the world we live in. Thank you and good day. Signed, His Excellency Benigno Simeon Aquino III.
Thank you very much, Secretary Lucille Sering.
Okay, thank you very much, Secretary Lucille Sering. Now, what we will be witnessing right now is an institutional video of the Climate Change Commission.
All right, so what is the mandate of the CCC or the Climate Change Commission?
Wow. Republic Act number 9729 or the Climate Change Act of 2009. Hirap ng tanong mo eh. Mandates the Climate Change Commission to be the lead policy-making body of the government to coordinate, monitor, and evaluate climate change-related programs of the government.
Kasi to be frank, Ate Pebbles, no, when we're talking about the issue of climate change, hindi pa siya ganun ka-mainstream eh. So it's very important yung role ng CCC na ma-institutionalize siya and na lahat ng sectors, especially the youth sector, would be having an important role to mainstream this issue.
That's why what we will be witnessing right now, the video will be showing what the Climate Change Commission has accomplished since its establishment in 2009. So,
Alright, so nandito, okay na ata? All right, so let's all watch this video about the climate change institutional information. All right.
With the right quantity, the carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases are necessary in trapping heat from the sun to keep us warm. But with excessive quantity, the global temperature increases. This phenomenon is called global warming. Besides resulting in longer and hotter days, an increase in global temperature also results in a change in weather patterns, known as climate change. As global warming continues, scientists agree that the world is moving towards a dangerous tipping point of climate change in 2050. Currently, the level of greenhouse gases trapped in the atmosphere is 372 parts per million. Scientists report that if a 450 parts per million level is reached, the world would reach that tipping point. When this happens, many parts of the world would be submerged underwater as mountain glaciers melt and drain into the oceans. Super cyclones would be more frequent. Long droughts would result in the desertification of many places. Climate-related diseases would spread globally. More famine would happen, as agriculture would be severely affected. In the Philippines, it was observed that there was an average increase of temperature of 0.57 degrees Celsius from 1971 to 2000. If the tipping point of irreversible climate change is reached, as predicted in 2050, a 7-meter rise in sea levels will drastically reduce the land areas of islands in our country. Moreover, as the sea temperature rises because of global warming, more and more intense cyclones enter our country. In December 2011, Typhoon Sendong took more than 1,000 lives in northern Mindanao. In trapping heat from the sun to keep us warm. Climate change is a global issue. Countries convened and agreed to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. The multilateral climate negotiations are ongoing, and the Philippines, led by the Climate Change Commission, is actually an active participant, strongly advocating for developed countries to take responsibility of their historical emissions. The Philippines, as a developing country, is vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. A recent Climate Change Vulnerability Index, released by the Global Risks Advisory firm Maplecroft, ranked 16 countries out of 170 as extremely vulnerable to climate change. Of the 16, the Philippines is ranked 6th. Recognizing the archipelago's vulnerability to its potential dangerous consequences, in 2009, the Climate Change Commission was formed through Republic Act 97. National Framework Change, or NFSCC, which was adopted in April 2010. It was then that multi-sectoral consultations were held to create the National Climate Change Action Plan. The ultimate goal of NCCAP is to build the adaptive capacities of women and men in their...
Alright, so yan yung ilan sa mga excerpts ng video about the Climate Change Commission. So obviously, Ate Pebble, sobrang nakakatakot yung mga possible na mangyari sa Pilipinas kung hindi natin aaksyonan to.
Tama, Jules. And you can actually watch the full video because it's already uploaded in our YouTube account and also in Facebook and in our Climate Change Commission's website.
Ayan, so Ate Pebbles, alam niyo ba guys, graduating na ako sa college. Magtatrabaho na ako, pero sobrang eager pa rin ako.
Grabe graduating. Pakiramdam ko ang tanda ko.
So, ayun, sobrang eager pa rin ako na matutunan ko ano tong climate change. Especially kung ano mga pwede natin magawa. At para malaman natin pinaka-reason kung bakit nangyayari yung mga sobrang super typhoons like Yolanda, Ondoy, and all. Tsaka bakit sobrang tindi na ng mga floodings nowadays.
You know, Jules, I think we have a good set of speakers and topics for today because we will be having experts who will impart their knowledge on the scientific and political side of climate change. And we will get to know what private organizations, individuals, and even government leaders, young leaders in the government are doing right now to contribute in addressing the impacts of climate change.
And of course, I am very excited because the Climate Change Commission Celebrity Ambassadress will join us later. Kilala nyo ba kung sino siya?
May
Alright.
idea ba kayo kung sino ang celebrity ambassadress namin?
Alright, no less than Miss Bianca Gonzalez.
Yes, she will be here later, di ba? This afternoon. So, alert tayo mamaya. And I guess everybody wants to see her and wants to have pictures taken with her, we hope. But before we get too excited for Miss Bianca Gonzalez, I'm personally excited, I'm a fan. We are very honored to have with us again our Greeneration champion and the Secretary of the Climate Change Commission to explain climate change and its impacts and to share the opportunities, you heard it right, the opportunities that climate change presents.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome again the Vice Chairperson of the Climate Change Commission, Secretary Lucille Sering.
Okay! While we are having some technical difficulties at the back,
Okay.
what you've actually witnessed earlier sa video, those are the impacts of climate change. Sabi nga mamaya ipapaliwanag pa sa atin ni Secretary Lucille Sering, pero sinasabi ng mga scientists ngayon that there are several manifestations na daw of climate change. Sabi nila, we're seeing the rise in sea level. So, we are also witnessing, katulad ng binanggit mo kanina, extreme weather events.
Yes.
And
yung nakita ko dun sa video, yung sobrang important na mas malapit siguro, lalo na sa mga kabataan, na as simple as charging your phone, as simple as using your laptops or your computers by watching your TV or whatever gadgets you have, meron na siyang impact directly to climate change. So it's really scary na kung hindi tayo ganun ka-aware, hindi tayo ganun ka-responsible kung paano ba natin siya mamimitigate, definitely nakaka-contribute tayo lahat, kayo lahat, para tumindi ang climate change. So, sobrang important yung role ninyong lahat dito para malaman nyo at masabihan nyo yung mga classmates ninyo sa mga schools ninyo na we should do something. Because of course, gaya nga na sinasabi ko sa UP, kasi recently we launched a campaign on climate justice and all student councils in the University of the Philippines, Diliman, agreed that we should fight against climate change and we should push for climate justice. So definitely, tayong lahat nagko-contribute tayo sa climate change. So we should also act on it.
yes, and are you also planning to invite other schools to join your movement, Jules?
Well, of course, last week kasi, di ba naganap yung Conference of Parties 19 in Warsaw, Poland. Before I invite them, what is COP19? Para lang alam nila.
The Conference of Parties is actually the international gathering of different members of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. There, we debate, we negotiate actually that the developed countries, mamaya ipapaliwanag pa ito ni Secretary, should be able to pay for whatever damages that developing countries are already experiencing right now. So, during the UNFCCC COP19, marami pong napag-usapan at isa doon ang financing. Mamaya, mas mapapaliwanag pa yun ng mga experts natin.
Bago ako dumako doon, kamusta naman sa Warsaw, Poland, Ate Pebbles? Galing sa Poland si Ate Pebbles, kakauwi na lang.
Yan, pagbalik ko dito, nagbabakbak yung mukha ko.
Talaga.
Oo.
Hindi agad nakapag-adapt doon sa kakaibang
Hindi,
weather.
sobrang init. Pagdating dun, sobrang lamig. Pero the experience and at the same time, you know, seeing different countries looking at the political side of climate change is really a cross-cutting issue.
Alright, so, gaya nga nung sinabi ko kanina, no, sinabi mo, Ate Pebbles, na i-invite din yung ibang university. Sino ba yung mga high school students dito? Raise your hands, high school students.
High school students?
Alright, my fellow college students. Yan, mas marami.
Okay, my fellow graduate students. Ay, onti lang.
Wala. Alright, so last week, we initiated this campaign on climate justice. So, as part of the student movement, sino ba yung mga part na student councils dito? Meron ba? Or different organization? Alright. So it's really important that we as student leaders from our different universities, colleges, and high schools to initiate our own local programs. I-localize natin yung programs sa mga schools natin kasi definitely we need to be the instruments in our schools to make all our schoolmates understand about this issue. So recently, as I said a while ago, we launched this climate justice in UP Diliman. All 19 student councils agreed that we should do something about the issue. Because recently, Ate Pebbles, nabasa ko sa tweet ng UN, binabasa ko yung tweets nila. Sabi nila na scientists have already proven that human-induced activities really trigger climate change.
And for us to better understand that, we will have, again, the Climate Change Institutional video.
All right.
Okay, class, I want you to draw things that you use or see every day.
Part of our modern way of life are these vehicles that we use for our transportation. For these to run, burning fuel is necessary that results in the emission of carbon dioxide. At home, we use these appliances every day. For these to work, electrical energy is needed. However, this energy also comes from burning of oil, gas, and coal that emit greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide and methane into our atmosphere. Using these appliances excessively means wasting excessive amounts of energy, which therefore causes emission of large amount of greenhouse gases, more than our planet can handle. Now imagine these are greenhouse gases. With the right quantity, the carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases are necessary in trapping heat from the sun to keep us warm. But with excessive quantity, the global temperature increases. This phenomenon is called global warming. Besides resulting in longer and hotter days, an increase in global temperature also results in a change in weather patterns, known as climate change. As global warming continues, scientists agree that the world is moving towards a dangerous tipping point of climate change in 2050. Currently, the level of greenhouse gases trapped in the atmosphere is 372 parts per million. Scientists report that if 450 parts per million level is reached, the world would reach that tipping point. When this happens, many parts of the world would be submerged underwater, as mountain glaciers melt and drain into the oceans. Super cyclones would be more frequent. Long droughts would result in the desertification of many places. Climate-related diseases would spread globally. More famine would happen, as agriculture would be severely affected. In the Philippines, it was observed that there was an average increase of temperature of 0.57 degrees Celsius from 1971 to 2000. If the tipping point of irreversible climate change is reached, as predicted in 2050, a 7-meter rise in sea levels will drastically reduce the land areas of islands in our country. Moreover, as the sea temperature rises because of global warming, more and more intense cyclones enter our country. In December 2011, Typhoon Sendong took more than 1,000 lives in northern Mindanao. Climate change is a global issue. Countries convened and agreed to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. The multilateral climate negotiations are ongoing, and the Philippines, led by the Climate Change Commission, is actually an active participant, strongly advocating for developed countries to take responsibility of their historical emissions. The Philippines, as a developing country, is vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. A recent Climate Change Vulnerability Index, released by the global risks advisory firm Maplecroft, ranked 16 countries out of 170 as extremely vulnerable to climate change. Of the 16, the Philippines is ranked 6th. Recognizing the archipelago's vulnerability to its potential dangerous consequences, in 2009, the Climate Change Commission was formed through Republic Act 9729, whose main function is to coordinate, monitor, and evaluate the government's programs to prevent and reduce the adverse impacts of climate change in the country. The Commission formulated the National Framework Strategy on Climate Change, or NFSCC, which was adopted in April 2010. It was then that multi-sectoral consultations were held to create the National Climate Change Action Plan. The ultimate goal of NCCAP is to build the adaptive capacities of women and men in their communities, increase the resilience of vulnerable sectors and natural ecosystems to climate change, and optimize mitigation opportunities towards gender-responsive and rights-based sustainable development. The country's food security can be greatly affected by climate change. Thus, there is a need to study the vulnerability of the food production sector and to create strategic actions to enhance climate change resilience of agriculture and fisheries.
Noong 1980s, maganda po yung nagiging ano namin dito. Dahil yung panahon noon, talagang maganda. Yung tag-ulan, talagang tag-ulan. Yung tag-araw, tag-araw. Pero po habang tumatagal, nagbabago na yung klima, yung panahon. Kaya umuunti na yung ani namin dito.
Ibagyo ang karon kaniadto ang kuan klima. Init karon ang panahon kaysa niadto. Sa una medyo mayo yung pakuha niadto sa una pero karon multi ka gamay man ang pakuha sa panagat.
Because climate change can also affect water supply, there is a need for a comprehensive review and subsequent restructuring of the entire water sector governance, considering the effect of climate change. It is also important to assess the resilience of major water resources and infrastructures, manage supply and demand, manage water quality, and promote conservation.
Talagang bumaba talaga yung tubig niya. Talagang maliit na lang ang tubig niya. Ganon siya bilis bumaba kapag hindi umuulan. Dahil nga, yung mga puno natin, wala na hindi na maganda yung maintenance ng watershed.
The current Philippine ecosystems are not in good shape, and further damage will be brought by climate change. Thus, there is a need to adjust human activities, protect and rehabilitate critical ecosystems, and strengthen its ecological resilience through mitigation and adaptation.
Servisyon talaga namin, nagbabago talaga yung coral reef ng Port Barton. Dati matitingkad na green, unti-unting nagiging brown, tapos wala na talaga, makikita mo na matay talaga ang corals, nasisira.
The recent tragedies brought by climate change should be a wake-up call to everybody. National and local government agencies should create strategic actions that give importance to coordinated efforts on disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation to minimize the threats to human security.
mo to nga pagawas na mo sa among balay, di naman matugan ang tubig. Naputos man ako akong anak nga 3 years old ug malong. Mo to nga pagawas na mo sa among balay, nakagakos pa mi og lubi. Ako wala na ako kabalo kung asa na akong mama, akong papa ug maigsuon. Kabulaag naman mi. Siyang yun sila tanan ang nabisi.
There is also a need to promote climate-smart industries or business sectors that provide products and services that utilize resources more efficiently, provide renewable sources of energy, lower greenhouse gas emissions, create green jobs, and promote lifestyles of health and sustainability to minimize environmental impact. Because the issue of climate change is mainly brought by human activities that use energy, there is a fervent need to promote utilization and development of sustainable and renewable energy, promote environmentally sustainable transport, and climate-proofing and rehabilitation of energy systems infrastructures. Climate change is a complex issue. It is important to have enough knowledge and holistic understanding of its causes and impacts, especially at the local and sectoral levels, and to have appropriate capacity to address the issue of climate change. Resiliency is vital. A resilient nation has resilient communities. The Climate Change Commission's Ecotan framework is an ecosystem-based approach in building the resiliency of local communities. The municipality of Del Carmen in Siargao serves as a pilot area in implementing the Ecotown project. Various government institutions, including people's organizations and non-government organizations, participated and talked on how to increase the adaptive capacity of the community. Other Ecotown areas include Marikina Watershed, which serves as the river basin that mitigates flooding in Metro Manila. Other ecotowns include San Vicente, Palawan, Borongan, Eastern Samar, and Batanes. It is convenient to put misfortunes as natural, but when nature is interfered with, they become fundamentally man-made. But in the same way that we have created this, we also have the power to reverse and prevent its adverse effects. We ultimately hold the future in our hands. All efforts are not just for ourselves. It is to save our children and even the children of our children.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, let us all welcome back on stage the Vice Chairperson of the Climate Change Commission, Secretary Lucille Sering.
Hello! Galaw-galaw pag may time. Are you still alive? Yes. I can't hear you. Yes. Kakakain nyo lang. Louder! Yes. Sorry for the delay. We're not experts on lights and sounds, but they have to put a tape here. And so I hope you can hear me clearly at the back. Nosebleed ba? Nosebleed? Okay, let's simplify our presentation today. The reason why you're all here is that we need you. That's just it. We in government cannot do everything by ourselves. We need you, and everybody here to help us spread the word. I don't know if somebody was even, I saw people mingling out the back. Did you actually look at it, or you just went to Kokoy? Who went straight to Kokoy? No one knows Kokoy. And later we will introduce him. Did you see someone welcome you also outside? Sino mas payat? Siya, ako? Sige na nga. We have free lunch. Okay, now let me present something today and try to let it, put it in the most simpler term that we can possibly think of. But we have experts here today who you can ask questions so that you can, mas maiintindihan natin lahat to. So let me now get your attention here. Although the spotlight is on me, just listen to my voice. It's not kokak, but it is okay na rin. So let me start with my slide. And thank you, USAID, for helping me with preparing this slide. So now you know that there's a Climate Change Commission. Sino may alam sa inyo bago kayo dumating na may Climate Change Commission? Raise your hand. Not a lot of people. Who among you here are like the first time to attend a Greeneration Summit? Good. It means, except other people who were here the last time. So what I want to show you today is really the opportunity of climate change. Climate change is not about disaster. It becomes one if you don't do anything about it. What we wanted to share to you today is that ang nangyayari sa atin, nakita natin ng mga nakaraang linggo, mga tanong ninyo, pwede kayang iwasan pa itong mga ganitong sakuna? Gusto namin na pag-awin nyo, when you go home, you'd say, pwede naman pala, but do not quote me. Hindi sabi ni Secretary Sring, kundi yun na natutunan nyo ngayon dito sa Greeneration. Kasi ang impormasyong alam nyo ang magliligtas sa'yo. So the Achieving Low Emission Development is really about what can we do as a country to reduce our greenhouse gas emission. If you were listening at the institutional video that was presented, there were several reasons why there's global warming. And they've identified greenhouse gases like methane, carbon dioxide. Saan nga ba naman ang gagaling yon? Dito nyo ngayon maiintindihan kung bakit sinasabi nila, we have to reduce, reuse, recycle. Dito nyo ngayon maiintindihan, bakit kailangan ko ayusin yung basura. Dito nyo rin maiintindihan kung bakit kailangan ko tanggalin yung plug. Sa panahon ngayon, hindi lang dahil makakatipid ka, kundi tumutulong ka rin sa pagbabago ng klima. So when we talk about low emission development, it is the opportunity of climate change. So if you look at the Philippines, oh wow, we are one of the fastest growing economies in the world. We've actually overtaken China. We know that China is the fastest growing economy, but in the first quarter of this year, mas mataas po ang ating pagtaas ng ating GDP. When we talk about growing the economy, people here, we're wondering, bakit parang pakiramdam natin, marami pa ring mahihirap sa mundo, sa Pilipinas, kung tumataas ang ekonomiya ng bansa. Sinasabi naman nila na kaya tayo tumataas ng ating ekonomiya dahil marami na daw tayong pumapasok na industriya and that our manufacturing sector have also improved. But at the same time, we also know that there's an increase of jobs because of call centers, and then overseas remittance workers. Ang ating po mga kapatid, ang ating mga hero na patuloy po na nagsisilbi sa Pilipinas sa pamamagitan ng pagpapadala ng kanilang pera. Pero kung titingnan nyo, sa inyo dito, anong kursong kinukuha nyo? Pwede ba kayo sa manufacturing? Pwede ba kayo sa industrial sector? Pwede ba kayo sa call center? Yun ba yung kurso nyo? Kung in economics ka ba, call center ka na automatically? What we wanted here is this. If you're taking an economics major, then you should be taking something related to economics. If you're taking something like education, then you should be teaching. But we also have call center. It's beginning to be the first option. But what we don't know is that climate change with the green growth has more opportunities for a country, especially now that the world is moving towards a clean and green economy. So, kung mayaman naman pala, anong kulang? mayaman nga tayo pero ito ang problema. Ang Pilipinas is also one of the vulnerable countries. When you're doing business, your location is what will define you. Kung nasa kanto ka at unang bukana, good location. Pag nasa likod ka, kahit maganda tinda mo, kung hindi ka naman nakikita, bad location. The Philippines is, I don't know, the experts will tell me, are we in a bad location? We are vulnerable because we are located at the Pacific Ring of Fire where most of the typhoon cooks on the eastern seaboard. So the eastern seaboard is on that side. Diyan po ang Tacloban, diyan po ang bayan ko, Surigao City, Surigao del Norte, na tinamaan din naman ng Yolanda under signal number 3. At ayon sa top 10 poorest provinces, almost 4 or 5 out of the top 10 are actually located in the eastern seaboard. So what we're saying here is this. Did we try looking at weather as a potential cause of why we're poor? Or we were not harnessing most of the natural resources in the eastern seaboard? Or maybe there's just too many people living on that side that we're putting them in harm's way. Who among you here are actually from the province? Eastern seaboard. 1. What area? Aurora. Sanay sa Bagyo. Anybody else? Ako po, hindi ako scientist. Pero laki po ng respeto ko sa mga scientist kasi ang tatalino nila, pero underappreciated po sila. Kaya tayo nandito dahil ayaw natin silang pumunta kahit saan. Ipagdadabot po dapat natin ang ating mga scientist kasi sa tingin ko, dapat natin silang kinukonsulta lalo na sa mga pagbabago ng klima. Ako po'y abogado. Kaya daw ako nag-abogado, mahina ako sa math. Agree? Any lawyers around in the room? But anyway, so the reason why we're vulnerable is that our location, kung saan namumuo, we have the, sabi nga nila, we are a mecca of all disasters. The only thing we don't have what? Winter storm. Okay? That's the only thing we don't have in the Philippines. But you see, even if we're vulnerable, we're also resilient in a way. Saan ka nakakakita na pagkatapos bagyuhin at umiyak, makakain lang, makainom ng soft drinks, o di kaya Red Bull, ngingiti na. We heard stories of resiliency in Tacloban. I heard one story I like the most is yung magkaaway na pinsan dahil nag-away sa isang babae. Nag-away sila sa isang babae, nagkakita sila sa isang lugar ng puno, wala silang choice kundi mag-usap, naglabas ng sama ng loob, tapos naging magkaibigan na. Nakakita sila ngayon ng isang ref. Pagkapa nila sa paa, yehe, red horse. Sa kaba nila, sabi nila, ito na siguro ang sa kalagitnaan ng Yolanda, uminom. Nawala ang takot, nagtawanan. Sa langit, wala ng beer. I don't see any people who can actually find humor in a situation like that. What stopped that merrymaking was when one child dumaan sa lugar nila, nadala ng agos. They tried everything to hold to that kid, nawala. They don't know if he survived or not. Tumigil ang inuman, pero magkabati pa na naman yung magpinsan na nagkabati. So these stories of resilience, here's just one of those that we've heard. I've heard about guys seen in pictures playing basketball. Why am I saying this? I am from Surigao del Norte when in 1984, I experienced firsthand Typhoon Nitang, or which was internationally known as Ike. We lost, and I lost a lot of neighbors, a lot of friends, about 1,492 and a lot of missing. That's still a lot of numbers considering that in 1984, hindi naman ganun kadaming tao. Ngayon, natuto kami. Pero hanggang ngayon, patuloy naming sinasabi at pinapaalam kahit sa mga elementary what Nitang did to our town. Nung pumasok ang Yolanda, signal number 3, no one died. Same amount of rainfall in Sindong that bumagsak sa Cagayan de Oro, no one died. Hindi naman sa praning kami. Pero pag sinabi sa amin may bagyo at parang Nitang, alam na namin in our experience what it is. So for us who've been there, please listen. So if you look at this at the Eastern Seaboard, and look at the resiliency, this is another finding of another study, that the Philippines is 6th based on the 2011 maple crop. Maple crop is insurance. No? Ang perspective ng maple crop is insurance. Ang Pilipinas kasi ay hindi pa masyado insured. What does that mean? Japan was able to recover in Fukushima because they are 90 or 95% insured. Kung anong sira nila ngayon, babayaran ng insurance. Wala po tayong ganyan pa sa Pilipinas. Kaya nung nangyari ang Ondoy, nasira ng almost 2.7% ng GDP, which is about $4 billion, and we needed another amount, almost the same, to pay for the reconstruction. When this cost could have been paid for by the private sector. What they say we lack, we tried to talk to these insurers, what do you think we need for you to accept and make our insurance cheaper? They said, you still lack the data. We need more data for us to be confident that you're doing something to reduce your vulnerability. And we have to have more data to be more confident somehow that will be their baseline. But anyway, from there, gumawa naman tayo ng paraan. Dito na natin malalaman yung mga programa ng gobyerno tulad ng Early Warning System at Project NOAA, kung saan ay ang ating isang expert ay magpe-present mamaya. Isa pang rason kung bakit daw tayo mahina. Ang Manila, ang City of Manila is the second most vulnerable on storm surge based on a 2009 study. Ang sinasabi kasi nila, number of risk, there's annual average of 19 to 20 typhoons a year. By the way, pangilan ng Yolanda? 24. Tama ba? 25, 24? Oh. Ilan ang alphabet? 26, sure? Filipino, English? English ba ang ginagamit natin, Mantani? Oh, yan. English pala. Kaya lang wala daw Filipino name na X nag-uumpisa. Meron ba? Meron? Okay. So let's move on. Are you still awake? Woo! Papatugtugin ko si Kokoy. Okay. Oh, may panibago na naman tayong top 10 list. Hindi po ito Miss Universe. Ito po ang yung top 10 list na nagsasabi, ang Pilipinas nga naman daw ang vulnerable, at isang sinasite nila dito ay ang weak infrastructure. Pumapangalawa ay sa dami ng risk. Dahil sa dami ng risk, nandun din yung karamihan ng tao. Kung titingnan mo yung tatlo, ibig sabihin, most of the urban areas are at risk. Kasi nandito, example ito, dumating may earthquake, wag naman po sana, ano? Example lang. Kung bumagsak, chances are may magsasaktan. Pero kung wala ka dito, walang masasaktan. Sa atin, ang importante pa rin ay ang buhay ng tao. So, how do we address this? What you see outside is our attempt on the Climate Change Commission together with other agencies like DNR, DAR, DPWH, DOST, DOH, sorry po yung hindi ko na-mention. Lahat po yan, nag-consolidate kami para tugunan itong mga changes na ito. Marami pa rin nagsasabi, maaring walang climate change. Pero para sa perspective natin, yung mga bagyong tulad ng Yolanda ay hindi nakakayanin sa kasalukuyang infrastruktura. Ito po ay sinasabi, ito ay hurricane. Di natin ginagamit ang hurricane, pero ginagamit natin siya sa slide. Hanapin niyo po ang Pilipinas. Kahit po nasa computer niyo, hindi niyo na rin makita. In short, the best way to address a problem is to accept that it can happen. Hindi na ho pwede tayong mag-deny-deny. Science is there to provide certainty of this phenomenon. But in a perspective of a layman person like us, na kasing lakas ng hagupit ng Yolanda, we have to be able to prepare ourselves with that. Before, during, and after. So what do? Let's look at the opportunity, knowing that this is our vulnerability. These are the greenhouse gases sources in the Philippines. Energy, 50%. Waste, the green one, agriculture, and then the last one is the industry. Sorry, it was fast. What we're saying here, we are now giving out inventory because of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Pero kung ikukumpara mo po ang emisyon ng Pilipinas sa ibang bansa, ay hindi po kasing laki tulad ng China at India. China and India and even the US. China, because their economy is growing, has faster emission even than the United States. But the Philippines is nowhere there. But nonetheless, kasi nga tumataas ang ekonomiya natin, we wanna be proactive in knowing what are the alternatives on the current fossil fuel that we have. We need to be able to know kailan ba pwedeng palitan. Kaya po nandyan yung solar, nandyan yung wind, nandyan yung ocean energy. Those are opportunities of climate. Alam natin na hindi pa tayo pwedeng mag-change ng ganun-ganun na lang. Kasi, sabi nila, cost. Pangalawa, yung infrastructure na meron tayo ngayon ay nandun pa sa dati o nakaraang teknolohiya. So what are we looking at? Who is this guy? Pine trees, buildings, windmill, solar. Oh, that should be a mini dam. We have so much potential in your renewable energy na sayang kung hindi gamitin. Have you heard of Pagugpod? It's now a tourist attraction. I like your yes. Say it again. Yes. Effective ang C2, yung plastic po, pakitapon na maayos, okay? We have solar. We have already 1 megawatt solar-powered where? Cagayan de Oro. We are second in terms of potential to geothermal next to the United States in the world. We have one of the highest potential of solar, simply because we're a tropical country. In Siargao, where there's a lot of waves and surfing, it's an indication of a potential of ocean energy. We have so much waste that it can now be turned to energy. Have you heard of Payata? Did somebody shoot me? So guys, hindi ko na yata kayo mapapatawad nito. What is this? Should I go down? Where are my security? So I won't move. These are the opportunities of climate. It's so warm. Walter, can I move now? That wasn't part of the script. Okay. Can you just give me a round of applause here? Oh. So, what I'm telling you here is that the government already has a plan. We are being criticized that we like planning and we can't implement it. You see, government and Congress comes up with a law, and the citizens are supposed to comply with it. We cannot be going all around town arresting anyone that doesn't comply. Because compliance of the law excuses no one. Ignorance of the law excuses no one for compliance therewith. We need you to be proactive in knowing what these laws are. We already have the National Climate Change Action Plan. We already have the Disaster Risk Management Plan. Did you know that if your mayor commits any of those acts under the Disaster Risk Management Act, they can be perpetually disqualified from office. And you, an ordinary citizen, can use that law to make sure that your local government complies. Anyone who misuses relief goods is a criminal act. You should know that. Third, if a local government is already informed of their vulnerabilities and already have all these tools that says that you're vulnerable and refuse to put it in their plan, they can be penalized under the Disaster Risk Management Act. How many of you know that? Do you think that's useful information? So when we have the strategy on climate change, but at the same time, you know po, tulungan din natin ang local government because they need all the help they can get. A 4th, 5th, 6th class municipality might not have the capacity to hire very good experts. They need support in that sense. And they need even science students. How many of you here are science students? Not a lot. So that's why, but that was intentional. Because when we try to integrate climate change in the curriculum, it is automatically placed in the science subject. But not all students take science. So that's why all forums like this are really intended to be given to students that are not taking science subjects. So the ultimate goal of this plan as we move along, and I want you, because we have, I think, Wi-Fi, if you have on your phone, we will show you a site where you can look some of these details, because I don't want to keep you out from lunch, and we have really good presentation later. Don't you worry, we have very good presentation later. We will redeem ourselves despite technical difficulties. As we move along on these presentations that we have today, the main reason really, and I'm so happy to see a lot of you here, we want you to multiply. Alam kong wala nang multiply. Facebook na ngayon. We want you to multiply on Facebook. Tweet. Be informative. Dahil hindi kayo pwedeng sumingil kung hindi nyo alam ang sinisingil nyo. Kung ako at alam kong ang tanong ay tama, magandang sagutin. Merong mga tanong na hindi ko masagot. May mga tanong na kaya kong sagutin. Pero overall, yung minsan, kung sino yung nagtatanong, alam na talaga yung sagot. Di ba? Di ba sa klase? Magtatanong ka, pero alam mo yung sagot. Gusto mo lang ipayan yung teacher mo, kung alam niya. Hindi ako ganon, ha? So anyway, next please. So overall, we got support from our partners, from USA, from GIZ, from UNDP. Those are bilateral and multilateral agencies that provide us support. We know that they've been giving us a lot of aid and relief, but it is only temporary. We want to be able to build back better on a more longer-term planning. And these agencies also provide us that. We presented this before. This is our eco-town. A lot of you have seen the scale model. Some of our experts who are here help us this. They help us determine, pag nakita nyo yung eco-town framework, balikan nyo ulit mamaya. We wanted to plan based on our vulnerabilities. Karamihan po kasi plano ng local government ay vulnerabilities nung nakaraan. Hindi pa po napapasok yung vulnerability sa mga susunod. So we wanted to capacitate them in that aspect. That's what you call vulnerability assessment. Second, natural resource assessment. Alamin, alin ba sa lugar ninyo ang pwede nyong gamitin nang hindi mo naman kailangan putulin. We've discovered in Siargao Island na yung kanila palang mangrove na pinagpapala sila ng Diyos ay kung magka-storm surge tulad nung nangyari kay Yolanda, maaaring hindi mo makikita yung devastation doon sa lugar na yon dahil doon sa kapal ng mangrove nila. A mangrove, my friends, kids, ladies, and gentlemen, is much cheaper than a seawall. It's a good barrier to tsunami. And one of our experts, Dr. Adel Lasco, did a study on that and can attest that it's true. Right, Dr. Adel? Or you want to dispute me? I will give in to you. Then human resources. We have all the laws in place. Fisheries, agriculture law, agriculture modernization. Lahat yan, pinagsasama namin. Pinapakita namin na kung mag-uusap-usap naman pala, kaya naman pala solusyonan yung ridge to reef. Ibig sabihin, ang ahensya po kasi in charge ng bukid ay Department of Environment and Natural Resources. Ang ahensyang in charge ng agriculture na nasa baba ay Department of Agriculture. Ang in charge ng flood control ay Department of Public Works. Ang in charge po ng mangrove protection ay DNR. They're in charge of protection, pero sinong in charge ng pangingisda? Department of Agriculture. So isipin mo kung itong ahensya hindi mag-usap-usap. Dito natin pinakita yung convergence sa isang mas holistic approach sa isang isla. Ng Department of Energy, na-realize nila na dahil dun sa study na yon, itong lugar na to, napakamahal ng kuryente. Na-realize nila na based on the assessment, they can have wind power, they can even have waste to energy, they can now be self-sufficient in power without buying expensive fossil fuel because they are an island. Don't you worry, I'm almost done. It's so hot here, I want to go down as well. So all of this are just an information, not just an information, but we really wanted you to know what they are this because pwede nyo kasi kaming singilin. Pwede nyo sabihin, oh, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Governor, meron naman pala na tayong ganito. But these are the things I want you to look at, my friends. There's a need for climate change adaptation to be mainstream with disaster risk reduction. We don't want to go on in this forum without us talking about the way we prepared on Yolanda. We were prepared for signal number 1, number 2, number 3, but we were not prepared on Yolanda. Is it somebody else's fault? I don't want to answer. You see, the role of the government in this are two-pronged. It's the local government who provides the initial response. Pag-asa, na masyado na nating criticize before, is a technical science agency who will get the science. They will not tell you where it's exactly gonna hit on what street. They will hand it to your local disaster risk, and it will be then who will determine kung saan posible tatama. The national agency provides more of the science, but it is the local government who goes there and know where they're actually located. So all of this, the local government has been overwhelmed. But even before that, we have to understand that bago pa mag-Yolanda, meron pa tayong earthquake, meron pa tayong Santi, may habagat pa. So our resources are stretched, but it's not an excuse not to do something. We have a lot of things we learned on Yolanda, and that is why we're all here. These are the 4-step method of disaster risk assessment. Tingnan nyo to, kids. dugo-ilong lang, pero simple lang naman siyang intindihin. We are doing this step by step. Dito mo aalamin kung saan ka makakatulong. Dito mo, later we will be launching a contest for you to know how to help your community. Alamin nyo lang kung saan yung mga evacuation center, kasi baka yung evacuation center nyo ay nakalocate pala siya sa area na risky. So, that is an important thing that you can contribute. Next, please. We now have the mitigation framework. Next, please. We created a team. Nag-uusap-usap na po kami sa gobyerno. Dati po walang ganyan. Hindi namin napag-uusapan ang oportunidad ng climate change. Ang konteksto lang namin ay disaster, reactive. Ngayon, we're now looking at how to also maximize opportunities of climate. Finance. Alam naman natin, hindi ka makakapag-implement kung walang financial support. The government is now prioritizing expenses for adaptation. Because that's where the intervention is. Ano to? Yung mga Project NOAA, yung mga early warning tools, yung mga nakikita nyo sa pag-asa are really intended to help us to adapt kasi meron mga bagay na hindi na po tayo maiiwasan. Ang mitigation, on the other hand, dyan po papasok yung private sector, yung selling green products, for example. Private sector invest on renewable energy like solar and wind. Those are opportunities of climate under mitigation. The difference between the two, mitigation is not disaster risk mitigation. Climate change mitigation simply means reduction of greenhouse gases, and what are those? So that's the difference. Next, please. This is where you are here and why you're here. Raising of awareness. How many of you that came here actually understood or seen this already? How many? How many of you here are just hearing this and seeing this for the first time? Raise your hand. Almost a majority, right? So I hope you'd be very attentive for the rest of the day. And please share what you've learned today. Tweet it, share on Facebook. And when you go back to your school, you create your own Greeneration. Because we may have started here today, we plan to make it more Asia-wide and most, if not, make it global. The Philippines will lead the way in initiatives such as this. The Greeneration is yours. It's your future. If you don't do anything now, then I guess you can just say you can move on. But the main reason or the fact that you're here listening to me, even if it's taking so long, and all these technical difficulties we've gone through, is that you've already contributed to the solution. As I've said, what you know will help you. So dito sa Greeneration, lalo na dito sa ating mga kabataang barangay, meron ba? Wala. So the Greeneration is a youth empowerment. Later, you will be hearing from our ambassadors. Kung ano yung pinag-sasabi ko, malalaman nyo kung paano nila ina-apply sa mga gawain nila. So, we are now, the Climate Change Consciousness Week. Tomorrow will be local governments. Mga mayors po, governors ang pupunta dito, sila naman ang uupo, at iba naman po ang pag-uusapan natin dito. On the third day will be the private sector. And on Friday, we have the Paint It Light campaign. It's a campaign. Did you know na ang pinakapangit na kulay ng bubong ay green? Kasi pag dark-colored ang iyong bubong, mas mainit sa loob ng bahay. So the Paint It Light campaign is a campaign to say, sabihin mo sa nanay mo, nanay, mas maganda pala kung hindi mo rin lang kami e-airconan, gawin mo ng light-colored yung ating roof. And did you know that if you have a ceiling fan, it's much better than a stand fan? There's a study by UC Berkeley scientists that said in India, they were able to reduce almost 30% of their electricity cost by simply using a ceiling fan. It circulates the temperature, plus of course the light colored roofing. Kasi ang climate change po, hindi lang naman bagyo. It's also about init. Sa akin nga, mas mahirap pa yung init dahil kung summer, mas mahaba. So anyway, please log on to our website. We now have a new website. We used to have a website na kahit ako naguguluhan maghanap. So we took the initiative to change it. The new face of the website as mukhang mas mahirap pa rin yata. So this is now our new website page. And later, we will be launching our first iPhone, iPad app. Sino naka-iPhone? Wala pang Android. iPhone, iPad. The game of the EcoTown. Yung iPad na yun, na application na yon, pag ginamit nyo, kayo na mismo alam nyo, ay ganito pala, ganito. In short, para siyang Farmville. Oh. Okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. I hope you learned from me. Magandang umaga po.
Thank you very much, Secretary Lucille Serni. Republic Act Number 9729, or the Climate Change Act of 2009, mandates the creation of a national panel of technical experts who will provide technical advice to the Climate Change Commission in climate science, technologies, and best practices. We are very privileged today to have with us the members of the National Panel of Technical Experts. Our first panel of technical experts.
Dr. Porfirio Alino's field of expertise include coral reef ecology, community ecology and management, chemical ecology and ecological modeling. He is the leading expert in marine protected areas in the Philippines. He is currently an associate professor in the Marine Science Institute of the University of the Philippines.
Dr. Leoncio A. Amadore is a retired scientist formerly affiliated with the Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical, and Astronomical Services Administration and noted for his contributions in earth science. The Amadore method and all the published articles of Dr. Amadore significantly contributed to the advancement of atmospheric science and hydrometeorology in the country.
Our next technical expert, Leandro Buendia, is currently the project coordinator of the US EPA UNFCCC project, Regional Capacity Building Project for Sustainable National Greenhouse Gas Inventory Management Systems in Southeast Asia. He is the team leader of Agriculture Sector GHG Inventory Team for the Philippines' second national communication to UNFCCC.
Our next expert is Dr. Rex Cruz. He is the Chancellor of the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. He holds a bachelor's and a master's degree in forestry from the University of the Philippines. He then acquired his PhD in watershed management from the University of Arizona. His field of expertise includes forestry and watershed management, and he is a member of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the 2007 co-winner of the Nobel Peace Prize.
Our next expert is Dr. Carlos Primo David. He holds a bachelor and a master degree in geology from the University of the Philippines. He then acquired his PhD in environmental science and geology from Stanford University in 2003. He has experience on climate change adaptation and disaster risk reduction, while his field of expertise includes earth science, hydrology, and sustainable water resource management. He is currently an associate professor in the National Institute of Geological Science at the University of the Philippines, Diliman.
Dr. Laura T. David is the Deputy Director for Instruction at the University of the Philippines Marine Science Institute. She earned her doctorate degree in marine science from University of South Carolina. Dr. David has focused her research on the advancement of optical oceanography in the Philippines.
Our next technical expert is Dr. Felino Lasigan. His field of expertise includes statistical hydrology and water resources, agricultural and environmental statistics, climate change and variability, risk analysis and vulnerability assessment, systems analysis and simulation modeling, and environmental impact assessment and management. He is currently an affiliate, a professor in the School of Environmental Science Management in the University of the Philippines, Los Baños.
We also have with us Dr. Rodel D. Lasco, who has nearly 30 years of experience in natural resources and environmental research, conservation, education, and development at the national and international level. His work has focused on issues related to natural resources conservation, climate change, and land degradation. He is a member of the IPCC, the 2007 co-winner of the Nobel Peace Prize. He is also a member of the National Academy of Science and Technology in the Philippines and currently coordinator for the World Agroforestry Center.
Our next technical expert is Dr. Glenn Paraso. He received his doctorate in medicine in 1986. His field of expertise include health, wellness and fitness, and climate vector diseases. He's currently the regional director at Chemonix International, regional director South Luzon of Chemonix International.
Dr. Rosa Perez, field of expertise include meteorology, climate sciences, advanced numerical weather prediction, medium-range weather forecast, disaster management, climate change vulnerability and adaptation assessment, environmental management, and coastal hazards management. She is a member of the IPCC, the 2007 co-winner of the Nobel Peace Prize, and is currently affiliated with the Manila Observatory.
Our next technical expert is Dr. Juan Pulhin. His field of expertise includes human geography, environment and development studies, social forestry and community-based natural resource management, integrated assessment of climate change impacts, vulnerability and adaptation with emphasis on the application of participatory approaches, environmental governance and forestry. He is currently an associate professor in the College of Forestry in the University of the Philippines, Los Baños.
We have Dr. Fernando Suringan, who holds a bachelor and master degree in geology from the University of the Philippines and PhD in geology from Rice University, Houston, Texas. His field of expertise include earth science, marine geography, geological oceanography, and coastal geomorphology. He was a faculty professor in the National Institute of Geological Science and is currently a faculty professor in the Marine Science Institute in UP Diliman.
Our next technical expert is Ms. Lourdes Tibig. She is a member of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or IPCC, the 2007 co-winner of the Nobel Peace Prize. She holds various degrees, such as master's degrees in teaching physics from Ateneo de Manila University, a master's degree in meteorology from the University of the Philippines, Diliman, a certificate of agrometeorology from Foundation Universitaire in Arlon, Belgium, and a diploma in meteorology from the University of the Philippines. Her field of expertise include climate sciences and meteorology.
And last but not the least, Father Jet Villarin holds a bachelor degree in physics and a Bachelor of Sacred Theology from the Ateneo de Manila University. He received his master's degree in physics from Marquette University and PhD in Atmospheric Sciences from Georgia Institute of Technology. His field of expertise include atmospheric sciences, physics, climate science, and GHG emissions. Ladies and gentlemen, are the members of the National Panel of Technical Experts. May we invite them to go up the stage and be recognized by our youth leaders and our educators present today in the Greeneration Summit. We have with us Dr. Rosa Perez, Ms. Lourdes Tibig, Dr. Rodel Lasco, Dr. C.P. David, Dr. Glenn Paraso. Let's give them a big round of applause. And of course, we would like to invite Secretary Lucille Sering to join the members of our National Panel of Experts and the Assistant Secretary of the Climate Change Commission, ASEC Joycelyn Goco. Again, a big round of applause for our National Panel of Technical Experts. Now is a very rare and great opportunity for all of you present here because our panel of technical experts will entertain questions coming from you. Okay? So this is the time to get your questions on climate change answered by no less than the members of the National Panel of Technical Experts. Jules.
Alright, Ate Pebbles. So, nandito na tayo. Sino ang may question? Sinong gusto magsimula magtanong sa ating technical experts on the stage?
May we invite our guests dito po sa ating sofa?
Sinong pinakamatapang? From the high school level or from the college level? Meron ba? From this side.
Kids, you should ask kasi rare ito. They're like the best in the country.
And even in the
any
world.
question on global warming or
Questions?
anything, please.
Meron ka?
Okay.
Wala. Alright.
Okay, for documentation purposes, please take
Okay,
your
you
name
are
and your
Mr.
school.
I am Mr. Agustino Dos Reis. I'm from Aramson University. My question is, maybe can be referred to Secretary, His Excellency Secretary Sherwin. As we know that climate change is a single problem, but it's a complex solution for the world and global issues. As all developing countries are vulnerable to the climate change, impact of climate change, especially less vulnerable country. So we got the, like what they call green climate finance, something like that. So it's a global finance for developing country to limit their their greenhouse gases. I wonder if this fund only. It seems like the developed country offer us this finance, but while they are they don't limit in their greenhouse gases or emission. It's they only gave their fund limit our developing country to limit their greenhouse gases.
Thank you very much. So your question is about the Green Climate Fund.
So I wonder it maybe also limit the economy of the country because they offer our funds whereas they don't limit their fund, their greenhouse gases, and they offer our fund to limit our greenhouse gases. So it might impede our economy or something like that.
Secretary Lucille.
Thank you very much.
Yung Green Climate Fund was actually a fund created for developing countries to adapt to changes. What you don't know is that the increase of greenhouse gases, there was already certainty. Dr. Rosa Perez, with you, Dr. Rodel, regarding maybe we could ask from the technical expert what about, kung ano, saan nanggaling, ba't kailangan ng Green Climate Fund? Siguro yung sagutin lang yung greenhouse gas. Kung bakit, di ba, yung latest IPCC report, kung ano yung sinasabi doon?
Well, according to the latest IPCC report, which just came out 2 months ago, the increase in greenhouse gases is unequivocal, or the warming of the planet is unequivocal. I think that's what you're referring to, Secretary. And as a result of the warming of the planet, then there are consequences or there are impacts, and we have to adapt or adjust to those impacts. And thus, developing countries being the most vulnerable, and therefore there is such a rationale for some funding that should go to countries that are vulnerable, like the Philippines.
Ayan. Thank you, Rodela. See how easy it is for me? The Green Climate Fund is intended to help developing countries adapt to these changes. Kaya kami nag-aaway internationally, the Philippines is the co-chair of the Green Climate Fund. They created the mechanism, pero wala pa talagang pera. So yun ang laging pinag-aawayan natin ngayon na kailan kaya makikita yung suporta dahil the scientists, the mainstream scientists already declared na mukhang kailangan na mag-adapt, lalo na mga hihirap na bansa tulad ng Pilipinas. I hope we answered that question.
All right. Thanks, ma'am. And thank you to our experts. Now, so our first question came from the Adamson University. Now, for our next question.
Yung matatapang, ayun.
All right, from the University of the Philippines.
Sagot nyo na.
Good morning. I'm Rage Gonzalez from UP Diliman. Anyone could answer? I just like to know if is nuclear power plant a good source? Can we say that it's a clean source of energy? And is it possible to any parts of the Philippines to be put up?
Well, nuclear energy is clean, at least on the greenhouse gas. Walang masyadong emission. But the issue of nuclear is safety. So they thought before, if we are a country that is prone to earthquakes, you see what happened to Fukushima, Japan na ngayon, ganun na nangyari. Imagine if that will happen to our country. So I guess that's, in terms, let's say, on climate change and greenhouse gas emission, tama ba? Wala halos. Very, or kung meron man, very minimal. Pero safety is an issue.
Can I have a follow-up question, ma'am?
Sure.
How about Palawan? Is it okay to put it there? Because I think there's no fault there.
Okay, you think of Palawan as a safe place or probably an alternative for the site of a nuclear plant. But there is no, to me, to us, there are no safe places for any nuclear plant. Because if you remember, the first nuclear plant that would have been built in the Philippines would have been in Bataan. But a lot of studies had come up and it had all came out with a conclusion that it is never safe to do a nuclear plant in any area, especially near the sea. That is the main reason, like what Secretary Sering said, the main reason for our not espousing nuclear plant, despite its being a clean source of power in terms of greenhouse gases, we are not considering it at all because of the safety reasons. We just don't know what's going to happen should there be any leakage. And I don't think we can afford to have any adverse impacts on our marine life.
All right, thank you so much, Miss Lourdes Tibig. And for that question, University of the Philippines
Dr.
Diliman.
Rosa,
I have a question.
Dr. Rosa wants to add?
Okay, Dr. Rosa? Another issue on the nuclear energy is the disposal of the nuclear waste. We have very few areas that can be, where the waste can be put in.
I think that's a problem of Japan, no? In Fukushima.
Ako as a geologist...
Round of applause, ang gwapo ni Dr. C.P. David.
Hindi na ako magsasalita. No, being a geologist, I personally don't have a stand yet on nuclear power just yet. But my point is that there are other sources of energy that we can tap. Before we look into nuclear, there is hydropower. We are blessed with many, many sources of hydropower. Geothermal is another one. And we haven't yet explored our potential for wind and solar just yet. So I would actually... And many other sources of electricity. And to me, we should exploit all other sources first before we look into a higher technology that we might not even be prepared for just yet.
Yes, Dr. Paraso.
Yeah, I'd just like to add on. You know that the radiation effects, I'm talking from the health perspective, they're very irreversible, effects on the human body. It's so hard for us to have radiation effects. And if it gets into the food, it gets into the web, no? The water, and it gets into the human system. It's so hard kasi genetic ang effects ng radiation.
Okay.
Thank you.
You are so lucky to be hearing from the best.
Yes, Secretary, we also have a question here from...
Can we entertain one more?
A high school student
po.
po.
High school. Sige.
Hi, I'm Alison Pascual from Colegio San Agustin. I would like to ask, since we have identified the Philippines for having a high risk when it comes to global changes, what are the safest places to be in the Philippines, if you would suggest? for evacuation?
That is a very good question. It depends where you live, actually. It depends where you live. Our experts, can you please, maybe our geologist can take it off from there, and then the weather, and then the forester, and then health.
Well, unfortunately, in terms of typhoon occurrences, typhoon formation and typhoon occurrences, unfortunately, the Philippines is the country all over the globe that's most exposed to typhoons. But if we look at in terms of impacts, one of the rather projected impacts of climate change that is really going to be a threat, not just to most of our communities, is sea level rise. And I'm talking about coastal communities. No one is ever safe from sea level rise if it happens at the rate that we expect them to be. So if you look at where are the safest place in terms of impacts from accelerated sea level rise, I would say it would be in inland areas. But in terms of impacts on other sectors, well, we do have to look at that very carefully, because there's hardly any area, whether in the developed world or in the developing world, that is perfectly safe from the impacts, whether actual or projected impacts, adverse impacts of climate change.
So what we're saying here is that we've seen naman how we've thrived as a community. We've seen how we've survived. We wanted to know how it can be survivable. If we are to be specific with Yolanda, most of those who were affected are actually coastal areas. And these are the areas where you now start to think, should we allow them to go back? Or if they should go back, what are the interventions in infrastructure that we think can protect them from all these hazards? At the same time, even if they insist to go back, knowing their vulnerability, because that's their choice, being a democratic country, at least when they are required to evacuate, they should listen. So this is just the whole point. If you're going to ask me, can we survive? Yes. Otherwise, I will resign because, I'll be so depressed the whole time. It really depends where you live. And we have now multi-hazard maps. And even, let's say, inland and upland, there's also issue of a landslide. I think a geologist, and rain-induced landslide can also happen. That's why there's a need for us to be informed. We cannot just let our local government leaders to just plan it by themselves without you being involved. And the reason why you're all here is that this information will have to be factored in. And we have our national panel of experts who are more than willing and very generous of their time to answer. That's right, Doc?
I think the key word here is still preparedness.
Preparedness. And later we will know a lot about preparedness by someone really a good friend of ours. And later they will explain what to do. And I think the next speakers will get this conversation going for you to know more about preparedness. So thank you very much, Pebbles.
Thank you very much, Secretary Lucille, for moderating our open discussion with the members of the National Panel of Technical Experts. Jules, ano nga ba ang ginagawa ng National Panel of Technical Experts sa kasalukuyan?
All right, Ate Pebbles and ladies and gentlemen, to share the initiatives of the National Panel of Technical Experts, may we invite Dr. Rodel Lasco of the World Agroforestry Center for this talk. Let's give him a warm round of applause.
Okay. Well, good morning to all of you. Magandang umaga. It's really a pleasure on my part, to be able to share with you what we are doing in terms of the work of the technical panel of the Climate Change Commission. I guess this is the second slide, but nevertheless, let me go straight to here. We know what happened 2 weeks ago, and if you can press, please. But this is the big question. Is this climate change? That's one of the things that was discussed, being, discussed in the media, as well perhaps as to the minds of a lot of people like yourself. And this is a very science question. And you might think that the answer is simple, or you might think that I will give you an answer. No, I won't give you an answer, because the answer is more nuanced, more complex than just simply saying yes or no. It can be yes, it can be no, depending on how we reason out. And my point is that science is a very important part of responding to climate change. Let's remember that the whole climate change issue, greenhouse gases, and everything else, really started with science and technology. Sino ba naka-imbento ng makina, ng paggamit ng fossil fuels, and so on. So a lot of the things we enjoy came from science, and we are blessed because of science. But however, there are also negative impacts of science. At ang isa na nga dyan, yung tinatawag natin ngayon, climate change. Next, please. And so we thought of, together with the Climate Change Commission and with funding from the OML Center, we thought of starting our own Philippines Climate Change Assessment. Next, please. It is led, it's being led, and it's happening as I speak. We're doing the assessment right now. It is led by Filipino scientists who are part of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, and as well, of course, as my colleagues who are sitting with me here right now. It is the first ever assessment of science comprehensively in the country. Next, please. And the main objective of this is to synthesize the available information in terms of the technical as well as the socio-economic aspects of climate change in the Philippines. So just like the IPCC, and by the way, we patterned this after the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change reports. And that assessment has been going on since the early 90s. And so there will be 3 groups. The first group, which is composed of a panel of scientists, about 10 Filipino scientists, will look at the physical science basis. Working Group 2 will look at the impacts, adaptation, and vulnerability. And finally, Working Group 3 will look at mitigation. Next, please. And to give you an idea of what's to come out, this is just 2 months ago, the IPCC released their Working Group 2 report, Working Group 1 report, the physical science basis. So here's an example of the report, and as you can see from this is the projection of the global temperature, average surface temperature in the next 100 years. So this kind is global. So what we want to do is also to synthesize available information for the Philippines. Next, please. This is the IPCC, again, 2013 report showing that the world will become wet and even wetter moving forward in the next 100 years. Next, please. And of course, shown earlier by Secretary Sering is the Pag-asa projections for the Philippines in the next 100 years. So this is the kind of data and information that will be part of the Working Group 1. Next, please. Working Group 2 is all about impacts and adaptation. And again, here's an example from the recent IPCC report, 2012, showing the exposure to tropical cyclones. And if you will note from there, the people exposed will double in Asia in the year 2030. So these are the kinds of science information. There's a lot of scientific literature out there. And so we want to synthesize, we want to see what's the latest conclusions of science in our country. Next, please. This is another example. It's not from the IPCC, but an example of rice, cultivation, irrigated rice, and how it may change in the next 50 years, or about next 40 years. By 2050, how irrigated rice yield may change. And in this data, it may decline by up to a quarter, 25% by 2050 with climate change. Next, please. But there are also adaptation techniques. We don't just wait for things to happen. We want to be proactive about it. And here's one research showing how breeding can help in terms of submergence, flood tolerance of rice varieties. As you can see, some rice varieties are still alive after the 17 days of being underwater, while some varieties are totally dead on the water, literally. So if we can develop more of those breeds that can survive flooding, then of course that will add to the food security of our country. Next, please. Next, please. And finally, Working Group 3 will look at mitigation or reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Next, please. And as you can see from here, this is the latest inventory, greenhouse gas inventory of the country. And every Filipino, all of us, emit about 2 tons of CO2 per year based on this data. And an American will probably emit 10 times more CO2 per year. Next, please. And there are many ways, again, as shown in the video earlier. We can tap wind power. Next, please. We can also plant trees. They sequester carbon. They store carbon. Next, please. And finally, my last slide is just showing a non-scientific study, but nevertheless, most of you are aware, of course, with the internet and Google. And I just type in Google metrics or Google Trends the amount of search for climate change in the web. This was last year. I did this last year. And quite interestingly, after 2007, there was really a lot of interest in climate change around the world. But most surprising of all, if you tap the next slide, please, what this very quick study showed is that the Philippines is the #1 searcher for climate change. Is that surprising, right? Or perhaps not surprising, considering that we are the ones who are most interested with climate change because of typhoons, for example. So this is in a way encouraging that a lot of Filipinos, a lot of search in the web on climate change are being done by Filipinos. Now, they're looking for information. We want information because we know that climate change is real to us in this country. And so with this, let me end. I think this is the last slide. And let me thank you very much for your attention.
Hello.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rodel Lasco. And of course, it is an honor for us to be with the National Panel of Technical Experts.
All right, so now that we have learned the science of climate change, one of our climate change experts will share an online and traffic portal that is currently developing with the television network.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Dr. Carlos Primo David or Dr. CP David and Mr. Nathaniel Cruz, o mas kilala natin bilang Mang Tani, GMA News resident meteorologist.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. If there's one thing that we need to learn in the aftermath of Typhoon Yolanda is that information, even accurate information, may not be enough. 2 days before Yolanda, we actually knew of the typhoon track. We knew how powerful it would be. We even calculated how high the storm surge would be in areas like Tacloban. But it seems that it's not enough because in the wake of Typhoon Yolanda, many of our communities were left unprepared, and therefore many casualties and damages have occurred after this. In the advent of climate change and natural hazards such as typhoons and storm surges that will happen in the near future, we need to do something. No? And I think accurate information is already there, but the problem, I think, at this point in time is that we are not communicating it properly. Proper communication, if someone told me what a storm surge is, no? If we were able to explain this way ahead of time and told Tacloban storm surge looks like this and this will be the damage, then I'm almost certain that there will be less casualties, after Typhoon Yolanda. Next slide. So information is key, but probably more important is how we communicate this information. And this is where GMA comes in. No? We are partnering with GMA in order to popularize and even mainstream disaster information. We need to put this on TV, on radio, and even online. And this is where a good friend of mine comes in. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mang Tani, Chief Meteorologist of GMA7.
Kala ko na climate change din itong Mike. Hi, good morning, everybody. Sino mga kapuso dito? Bakit parang kokonti yata? Sino mga kapuso dito? Alright, thank you. Sino ang nanonood ng 24 oras? Okay. At saka unang hirit. Masyadong maaga kanina, no? Now, bago ako magsimula sa pagbibigay ko ng weather forecast, merong intro. At ito yung lagi nyo nadidinig. I am ready. Serbisyong totoo ng GMA News. By the way, wala po tayong bagyo ngayon. Ha? Kaya ako nandito sa harapan nyo. So, yung I am ready was introduced year 2010, October. Pagkatapos po during the first anniversary ng bagyong Ondoy. Natatandaan nyo ba yung bagyong Ondoy? Sinong mga naging biktima ng bagyong Ondoy? Thank you, wala rito. Doon. Mga taga Marikina po sila? Okay. So yun ang isang naging dahilan kung bakit nagkaroon tayo ng I am ready. Dapat hindi na maulit yung nangyari kay Ondoy. Dapat hindi na rin naulit dahil pagkatapos ni Ondoy, meron pa uling 2 bagyo, but this time, hindi na sa Metro Manila. Doon na sa Mindanao. Sendong, and then, sino yung pagkatapos sa Sendong? Nakalimutan nyo na. Sino ba taga Mindanao dito? Okay, pagkatapos si Sendong, sino po yung sumunod? Pablo. And then, last November 8, meron na naman pong mapaminsalang bagyo at ito ay si Yolanda. But nonetheless, paano kung hindi nakahanda yung mga tao ron? Although sinasabi nila kulang. Pero yon ang isang number 1 difference. Yung readiness ng mga tao. Kaya ito'y napakahalaga. Ngayon, kahit saan po ako pumunta, ang tawag na sa akin ng mga bata, ayan na si Mr. I am ready. No? Yun ang ngayon, pagkatapos ko ng stint ko sa Pag-asa, ito ngayon yung dapat na lagi nating tandaan. May bagyo man o wala, may baha man o wala, may lindol man o wala, we should be, I am ready. And then, next slide please. Nasaan ba yung ating Okay. Ito yung 3 M natin. Magplano, magsiguro, makibalita. Ano ibig sabihin ng 3 po na yan? Instill a proactive attitude of preparedness by giving viewers practical tips on what to do before, during, and after the rains. So, ang una nating ginawa dito, dahil after Ondoy, ang una muna nating concern, kapag bumaha, kapag umulan, ano ang dapat nating gawin? Pero, meron pang ibang hazards tayo. Hindi lamang po yung bagyo. So, we introduce other I am ready branches. Yan yung alerto sa tagulan, Fire Prevention Month, alerto sa lindol, na nangyari po yan doon sa Bohol at sa ibang probinsya sa Visayas, alerto sa tagulan, and then summer, and even during Christmas season, dapat alerto rin tayo. Ano ba ang mga panganib kapag may Pasko? Of course, maliban sa amin na maraming inaanak, panganib po yun. Pero, doon sa inyo, mga bahay, kuminsan nasusunog because of faulty Christmas lights. Di ba? So, yun yung mga dahilan na hindi lamang during tagulan, hindi lamang during taglindol, dapat tayong maging I am ready. 365 days a year, we should be I am ready. And then, in 2012, ang GMA News and Public Affairs ay nakabili po ng isang sophisticated weather provider. At yung nakikita nyo po dyan, kakambal ko po yan yung nasa kaliwa. Yan po si Mang Tani nung bagong dating sa GMA. At yung pong isa, si Karen, isang consultant din doon sa GMA Weather. So itinatag po ng GMA yung bahagi ng I am ready at yung GMA Weather. Kaya kapag po nakikita nyo ngayon ako, nagbibigay ng forecast sa TV, meron na tayong graphics, meron na tayong pinipindot, at ang mahalaga rito, yung focus natin hindi lamang para sa isang malaking bahagi ng bansa. We can pinpoint weather condition sa kahit anong lugar dito sa ating bansa. So, yun yung ating ginagawa ngayon. At yun pong ating GMA Weather o yung Weather Central, interactive yun. So makikita nyo po ako ngayon, kapag nagbibigay ng forecast, marami ng graphics tayong ginagamit. And then of course, ito pong GMA Weather will be partnering with so many different government and non-governmental agencies. Hindi lamang po yung GMA Weather, kundi yung buong I am ready. No? And next slide, please. So these are the reasons why we have to come up with this program. Take steps in reducing risk, protect themselves in any kind of emergency situation, plan their routes and itineraries. So hindi lamang po para sa mga nasa bahayan, lalong-lalo na yung mga nasa karsada, and be proactive participants in disaster and risk management. Climate change means more hazards, whether it's meteorological, whether it's hydrological, or even geological. So ito po ang pinakamahalaga. We should be proactive. Hindi natin kailangang kumilos kapag nandyan na yung hazard. No? And then of course, pinakadulo po nito, yung GMA Weather, it's only a part of I Am Ready. So yung pong I Am Ready is now a group, and that will be discussed further by Dr. C.P. David. Maraming salamat po.
Next slide, please. Again, just to reiterate what Mang Tani was saying, we are bringing your science subject to TV and online. We want to educate everybody in terms of the hazards that we face as a nation. This is GMA's I Am Ready. Next slide, please. And what we want to achieve, together with a lot of partnerships, hopefully together with the Climate Change Commission, is to serve everyone and guide everyone for safe and convenient living in the country. Next slide. Currently, I Am Ready is only for weather and for traffic, but this will be much more in the next few months. The principal challenge is to provide a portal, a source where you can get all the information that you need for the entire country. And we combine the entire program of GMA into what is now going to be known as the I Am Ready online portal. I hope everyone will be a partner in this. Many people will be needed in order for this to be a success. And I encourage everyone to approach any of us later on during lunchtime probably and see how we can partner with your schools, with individuals and so on in order for us to achieve a very important endeavor through the I Am Ready project. Maraming salamat po. Salamat sa inyong pakikinig.
Thank you very much, Mang Tani and Dr. C.P. David.
And now, to showcase their talent, let us all welcome the young performers of St. Michael's College of Laguna. Again, let's give it up for the St. Michael's College of Laguna.
dance troupe. Another big round of applause.
Muli isang masigabong palakpakan para sa St. Michael's College of Laguna Dance Troupe.
Fire, water, earth, and of course air. What a wonderful display of colors and elements.
The Greeneration Summit, a gathering for youth empowerment on climate change, is organized by the Climate Change Commission in cooperation with the Commission on Higher Education and the Department of Education with the support of the United Nations Development Program, United States Agency for International Development, GIZ Philippines, Globe Telecom, SM Cares, International Organization for Migration, and Rappler. We would also like to invite our participants to like the Greeneration Philippines Facebook page and follow us on Twitter at GreenerationPHL. Keep on tweeting and don't forget to use hashtag ActNowPH.
Also, as members of the Greeneration, we should practice what we preach by segregating our wastes at the designated disposal bins located inside the venue. While lunch is being served, you will be seeing videos from the Climate Change Commission and our partners. We are also encouraging you to visit the booths of our partners. We have the Department of Energy, Red Cross, and you can also use our iPads at the back so that you can go online and follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, and like our Facebook page. We also have the booth of USAID on low emission development strategies where you can take your photos.
Paghahandaan ko ang nababagong klima. Magtatanim ako ng puno at sisiguraduhin ko ito ay tutubo.
Paghahandaan ko ang nagbabagong klima. Magtitipid ako ng tubig habang naglalaba.
Paghahandaan ko ang nagbabagong klima. Huhugutin ko ang plug kapag hindi ginagamit.
Paghahandaan ko ang nagbabagong klima. Ako'y magsisegregate at magre-recycle.
Paghahandaan ko ang nagbabagong klima. Hindi ako magtatapo ng basura sa ilog.
Paghahandaan ko ang nagbabagong klima. Gagamit ako ng eco bag.
Paghahandaan ko ang nagbabagong klima, hindi ako gagamit ng dilamita.
Paghahandaan namin ang nagbabagong klima. Makikilaw kami sa mga gawaing makakabuti sa ating kapaligiran.
Ang epekto ng nagbabagong klima ay kaya nating tugunan. Iba't ibang tungkulin tungo sa iisang layuning payang handa.
sa ating bansa na naapektuhan ng bagyo, landslide, tsaka po yung mga iba pa po disasters na dumarating po sa ating bansa.
And it's like so unfair. Sa ibang places na hindi pa naaabot ng development, they're also affected by the same things. Which I think which leads us to the opinion na, or like sa option na, kung ano yung ginawa mo doon sa dati, wag mo nang gagawin dito.
So one of the things I've learned in the activity today is that the economic status of people determines the level of vulnerability and their adaptive capacity.
I-recycle ang mga bote na plastic at huwag magtapon ng basura kung saan-saan.
Tulungan po natin, hindi lang po yung gobyerno po natin yung kailangan kumilos, pare din po tayo kumilos sa gobyerno.
We are very concerned over the impact of climate hazards
bagyo ang karon ng kaniadto ang kuan klima. Init karon ang panahon kaysa niadto. Ang sa una medyo mayo yung kuha niadto sa una pero karon multi ka gamay man ang pakuha sa panagat.
Service talaga namin. Nagbabago talaga yung coral reef ng Port Barton. Dati matitingkad na green, unti-unting nagiging brown, tapos wala na talaga. Makikita mo na mamatay talaga ang corals, nasisira.
For the Eco-Town project, I really saw that they would fill the gap that San Vicente has been missing all these years. There are ways to make it more green and climate resilient para naman nakakatulong tayo, not just sa San Vicente, but sa buong Pilipinas.
Yung ecosystem po nila medyo fragile, especially sa Del Carmen. So nakikita namin na itong lugar na to ay medyo umiinit, tapos meron ng mga storm surges doon sa isang lugar, nawala yung isang buong beach resort.
Ngayon, lalong umiinit na talaga. Kung umuulan naman, malakas din ang ulan. Kaya yung mga pagtatanim, yung hanap buhay sa aming barangay, nahirapan.
With the support of the Climate Change Commission, we did an Eco-Town framework of development, which means it is an economically sustainable ecosystem approach to development. Multi-sectoral yan. Meron tayo related to trade and industry, related to education, related to agriculture, tourism. We are able to formulate a program that can ensure us that we can be climate change resilient.
The catastrophic damage brought by Ondoy is a lesson that should never be forgotten. It was only the beginning of the creeping climate change, showing its potential devastating power. And Marikina witnessed the furious vengeance of nature. Today, with the goal to make the city and the whole Metro Manila become more resilient to climate change, the Climate Change Commission, together with the local government of Marikina and other government institutions, worked hand in hand in the protection and conservation of the Marikina watershed, which serves as the river basin that mitigates flooding.
Maybe we could make it more that will involve a national policy na hindi lang yung LGUs din naman mag-respond. Kasi ang apektado nito, economic talaga eh.
President of UP Saver, UP Student Association of Valuers of Energy Resources. University-wide organization kami sa UP Diliman based sa College of Engineering. Basically, main objective namin is to promote renewable energy resources and alternative energy resources. At the same time, mag-promote din kami ng conservation of energy. Actually, yung Greeneration Summit, isa yung malaking surprise na dumating sa UP Saver noon. Because first time namin maimbitahan doon, and apparently first din pala ng Greeneration Summit. So we are very blessed to be one of the pioneering organizations na bumuo ng summit, na umattend sa unang summit ng Greeneration.
Theme this year, harmonizing the voice and endeavors of our agency. Maray gusto natin, this year kasi kaya energized up, kasi gusto namin ang mag-live up yung youth sa challenge na baguhin or mag-shift tayo sa RE, sa renewable energy advocacy natin. Balik
carbon dioxide, anong give off niya? Oxygen. But when we cut our trees, what it absorbs, it will release.
Kung narinig namin kanina, parang isa siyang eye-opener sa mga kabataan, lalong-lalo na ngayon na nakakaranas yung bansa natin ng iba't ibang calamities tulad ng bagyong habagat at saka ng bagyong Pablo na.
Nag-worse na yung climate change at hindi na biro yung mga pwede niyang maging epekto sa atin. I've learned na kailangan talaga at important yung youth empowerment because according to speakers, if you want change, we should be the change.
To the far ends of earth we go. Love story must be told. We will not live in comfort.
To entertain us this afternoon, let us all welcome El Gama Penumbra.
Think they can make it a better place.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of Pilipinas Got Talent, Elgama Penumbra.
I think they can make it a better place.
There's a place in your heart, and I know that it is love. This place much brighter than
Kailangan pa atin ng mga isang masigabong palakpakan for Elgama Penumbra.
Save the world. Easy, by being a Globe subscriber. Because with Globe, you're using new technologies that use far less power than before. For remote off-grid sites, that means new hybrid solutions that cut energy costs by 70%. And that's when you were just on vacation. You might not know it, but you'll be lighting more than 70,000 square meters of office space in our new LEED certified building with 100% LED bulbs, making it 20% more energy efficient. That's apart from already being 30% more water efficient. Thanks to new gray water collection systems, 70,000 square meters of less clutter, because less paper will be used, and less paper will be spent, and more smoke-free air for everyone. Charged your phone lately? You've been recycling lead-acid batteries for the past 10 years. That's over 1,411 tons of batteries, keeping our air and water clean. In 2012, 360 kilos, that's 3,850 old phones, were also recovered and salvaged for base and precious metals, saving 36 cubic meters of landfill space. You, along with 397,000 of your friends, also saved on buying paper, printing, and delivery of bills, saving 1,829 trees. You did this with a text message to enroll in paperless billing. But you didn't stop there. By simply being with Globe, you set up the country's first mobile-based savings bank in 2009 with a network of more than 2,000 partner outlets, lending over 2 billion pesos to 55 microfinance institutions. You helped create a culture of savings with 3.36 billion pesos deposited in 309,000 mobile savings accounts since 2012. So how do you save the world? Don't worry, you've already done your part. By being with Globe, you've helped us remain the only sustainable network in the country.
May we remind everyone to dispose their trashes properly? And while we are waiting for El Gama Penumbra to settle,
December
please
16,
watch
2011,
our videos.
Cagayan de Oro City. 33-year-old Jenny Rose Dagumbal and her family live in Isla de Oro, an island village located at the mouth of the Cagayan River. More than 500 families live in the village.
Katong nga time, anang buntag nakabalo na ko nga na ay signal number 2 daw ang Cagayan. Pero ko nga wala namang gyapon na ana lang ako pero wala gyud sa ko kay hangin namang gud to siya, hangin-hangin and kaulan-ulan pero panaligsik lang ba.
heavy rain continues to pour and the river reaches a critical water level.
Hindi yun, mga 7, nakatulog na akong kinamagulangan, dahil gato kong mga akong kinamanguran.
Few kilometers upstream, a massive pile of heavy and gigantic logs starts to build up as unregulated logging is rampant in the region. The water is now mixed with silts and muds from mining and quarrying along the river.
So pagka mga 8:30, gisakan na yun ang tubig, so nang mahakot na lugar may mga gamit.
Ladies and gentlemen, El Gama Penumbra.
Think they can make it a better place.
There's a place in your heart, and I know that it is love. And this place is much brighter than tomorrow. And if you really try, you'll find there's no need to cry. In this place, you feel there's no hurt or sorrow. There are ways to get there if you care enough for the living. Make a little space, make a better place. Heal the world, make it a
Give it up for El Gama Penumbra. Please settle down as we are about to resume with the afternoon session.